Welcome back to Morning Joe. Joining us now, political reporter for The Washington Post and moderator of Washington Week on PBS, Robert Costa. Bob's taking a look at the new chief of staff in a piece this morning titled "John Kelly is an apolitical force in a White House divided by ideology." Bob, we'll get to that piece in just a second. Do want to ask you, though, because you are so wired into the White House, about the decision, if there was one inside the White House, for President Trump to go out and make his fire and fury comment. Andrea Mitchell just reported pretty extraordinarily that it was not cleared by General Mattis, the defense secretary, who obviously would have to prosecute the fire and fury mentioned by President Trump yesterday. Do you think this was a calculated comment by the president, or was it off the cuff?
Based on my reporting, it was more of an extemporaneous response. The president had notes that were provided from his national security team, his foreign policy team. General Kelly, the new chief of staff, has been with him at Bedminster. H.R. McMaster, the national security advisor, has been briefing the president for weeks and months on the North Korean threat. But the president himself is dictating the rhetoric being used, and he's talking to other aides, but it's really the president himself driving the process.
So fire and fury, Bob, was not a line drawn up in a meeting somewhere at Bedminster?
We have no reporting on that yet. The president did have notes.
Joe?
Yeah, Bob, you obviously have been looking into John Kelly, General Kelly's first week on the job and how he's doing there. It seems to me that there have been some unrealistic views of what this man is supposed to do and what he's not supposed to do. He's never going to be dictating Donald Trump's tweets or telling him what to say in situations like that, is he?
He's not, and he came into the job, I'm told by some of his associates, that Twitter and when it comes to public messaging would not really be his portfolio. He would guide the president when possible, but it wouldn't be at the top of his agenda. A chief of staff who's managing the staff more than managing the chief.
Right, and as you talk about in your piece, him managing the staff right now, he seems to be able to be a bridge between the different warring factions inside the White House. How long does that last if, as the Wall Street Journal wrote in their editorial this morning, you have Steve Bannon trashing an American hero like General McMaster?
Well, that's an intriguing question, because if you think about Bannon's battle with General McMaster, it's all about the future of Afghanistan policy, how many troops to have over in the Middle East. And if the president moves in the McMaster direction, in the more traditional hawkish direction, you could see some outrage from the Bannon wing of the White House, and maybe that could further inflame this situation. I think that you look at General Kelly, he's also being turned to by a lot of staffers right now to be a voice of calm on national security, to help the president think through the regional challenges when it comes to North Korea. General Kelly has served throughout the world, 45-year Marine. There's hope in the White House, an expectation that he can help the president talk through how to work with China, how to work with Japan, work with international institutions to confront this threat.
Mark Leibovich, it's surreal that you have somebody like Steve Bannon thinking that he can second guess and undercut a Marine general who not only has served this country for 45 years all over the world, but lost a son in combat and just said goodbye to another son going over to Afghanistan. I think it's safe to say, unlike Steve Bannon, when it comes to issues like this, the general's all in.
Well, I mean, you would wonder how, I mean, sort of speaking general to general here, what General Kelly thinks of this. I mean, to me, that relationship between McMaster and Kelly here is sort of central, because you wonder, I mean, when and if in fact people are blaming Steve Bannon for, you know, the stuff that's been written about McMaster over the last week or so. I mean, does General Kelly take notice? Does General McMaster go to General Kelly and say, you know, what is this? I mean, in so much as there are warring factions in the White House now, it's sort of unclear what that really looks like. I mean, Bannon seems like he's been sort of in the second wave of sidelining in some ways, in that you know, apparently, you know, the president was not pleased with this, you know, Josh Green book that came out. It gives him more authority. It gives him more of a sense that someone well,
I mean, Mark, if you read that book, it's basically Steve Bannon got Donald Trump elected president. It was very impressive. But when you have Steve Bannon again trying to dictate policy on Afghanistan, why not just go to your chief of staff that's been all over the world, that's been in the Marines? And as I said, John Kelly just sent his second son over to Afghanistan.
It is very personal, obviously, with military figures, and you do sort of wonder how that relationship is playing out. It's obviously very early, and Bob's reporting sort of speaks to the non-ideological orientation of this. But you do sort of wonder, where does this go from here? Are they developing a relationship? Is this a candid interaction that he can speak to the president about?
Just to add to something Mark just said, Joe, you think about the relationship between Bannon and General Kelly. Remember, Bannon's a Navy veteran. Bannon has a daughter who served at West Point, went to West Point. So it's a complicated web within this White House. It's not always easy to figure out who's aligned with who. The General Kelly, I'm told, is friendly with Jared Kushner. He's also friendly with Steve Bannon. He's this apolitical figure. So how this all plays out, whether he aligns with the general perhaps on Afghanistan but keeps Bannon around to keep the base in check, it's all an open question.
Robert, one of the more interesting dynamics on the White House staff is General Kelly's loyalties. General Kelly has his principal loyalty to this country, his country, our country, and then the President of the United States. In a White House which is somewhat filled with the cult of personality, witness Stephen Miller yesterday calling President Trump the greatest orator in the history of the presidency, how is this going down?
Well, let me preface, Mike, by saying who knows how this will play out. General Kelly could be short-lived as chief of staff for all I know, but I have a couple things to say. He told the staff last Friday at a big meeting at the White House, check your opinions at the door. No one really cares about your opinions. Your opinions don't matter. Only the president's opinions matter. Take that into account. And on the big policy decision facing the administration on taxes, at a big meeting last week, he had all these key stakeholders in front of him trying to really sit on the edge of their seats. Where's General Kelly going to lean when it comes to taxes? He says, I don't have a position. My only position on taxes is that I pay them and I don't like them. And so a lot of people in the White House sat back and said, this guy, this new chief of staff is not taking a position. This is a new culture inside of the West Wing. But again, who knows how long it lasts.
It's interesting, Rob, as you said, you weren't sure whether the fire and fury comments were calculated. Obviously not anything that President Trump regrets. He's retweeting right now as we speak from another network stories highlighting his comment about fire and fury. He's retweeted a couple of stories to amplify the message of fire and fury. Bob Costa, always good to talk to you, my friend. Thank you. Coming up, he called.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.